you for joining me. So,
It's a pleasure coming to your YouTube channel.
yeah, Mike, I've known you almost 2 years, right?
2 years?
2 years, I think ever
Mm.
since 2018.
2018?
Yeah, I think
Wow,
so.
it's been
A
long.
long time.
Yeah.
And I remember I met you in the Itaewon, I was on the South Street queue.
Well, we met on the grass.
On the grass, yeah, yeah. So, you're one of the non-Korean friends to stay Korea for a long term. So,
Yeah.
I'm kind of
I would say
wondering.
I'm just a friend.
Yeah, I said you're a friend, but technically just because of you're.
I am non-Korean.
Yeah. So I think from you can see Korea more from the outside perspectives.
Mm.
So like, what's the living as a foreigner in Korea? Like.
I think Korea. I mean, for me, Korea has given, I think, a great opportunity to extend my knowledge.
Mm.
Like I received a scholarship, from Korean government to come and study here.
Yeah.
So that has been a great opportunity, So and I find that already Korea is, gains plus in my book.
Mm.
Plus, like for me personally, maybe you know it. I think you know it. I told you, since I was young, I started doing taekwondo.
Yeah, yeah.
So Korea has been on my mind for a very, very long time. And finally, to be here, it's good. It's good feeling,
It's good
It's
feeling.
finally, now I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
It's especially for my for my circumstances. It definitely was very hard to, someone who lives in Europe, to come all the way to Korea, without necessarily funding, and then when I found it through scholarship, that I felt like it's a great chance, to finally put these together, the way I imagined Korea and the reality.
Yeah.
And talking about reality,
Yeah.
let's talk about good things. It's safe, very safe country.
Yeah, of
It's one
course.
of the safest countries that
Yeah.
I've ever been. The second, I would say, or equally, Taiwan.
Yeah.
So safe, like
Taiwan is safe.
yeah,
Oh.
or at least I felt very safe as well.
Oh.
Yeah, Taiwan is a wonderful place.
So.
Equally, also Korea
Yeah.
offers a great transportation system.
Well,
I would say Seoul.
Mm.
In other cities is a bit different.
Yeah.
Seoul, I think, is more convenient in terms of. I mean, you have metro.
You can go everywhere you want.
Basically, you have all the transportations you want to use. Public and private, But I mean, in terms, you are gonna stand out. Korea is a very homogeneous society, and I think people don't expect much from you. I think in terms of understanding Korean culture or speaking in Korean,
Yeah.
even though there's many people who have been publicly visible, foreigners been on various talk shows, and having, Young Namda, and or Big Namda, or whatever,
Yeah, maybe.
And people do speak in Korean, but every time when you do open up your mouth and say something in Korean, people are still shocked. It's still not expected from you.
Yeah.
So I think there's a certain way of people are very polite
In Korea.
but
yeah.
I think also in terms of I find it that there is certain level of politeness that will be a little bit too much for you not to be able to integrate. It might seem at some point, when I was living in Daejeon, it's very hard to communicate with local people. It was like they were very, I don't know, when they saw a foreigner, they just didn't know how to behave. They didn't know how to communicate. So it was very hard for me to, I guess, get more comfortable in Korean. When you're talking in the classroom, it's completely different when you go out to the streets, You need to be much more fluent. You need to be much more faster. Life is fast. It's changing, especially in Korea. You can't be just like talking like one word. You have to string it along. You know. So I think that's the difficulty is that the expectations are very different. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not that great.
Expectation towards the foreigners, like
it is, special treatment. Yeah.
Treatment.
Right. I think any foreigner will get like other treatment because they understand. Maybe you will not understand our culture or something, or our ways of thinking. So I think it's anywhere as a foreigner.
I think like one of the reasons we have we see the foreigners from the different perspectives because Korea is a so homogeneous country, and like even like I'm a Korean that I have many non-Korean friends in Korea. So every time when I went to my non-Korean friends, like foreigners, I can see the Koreans they treating it like you said different way from me and like my friends. So I think it's kind of natural thing. So I also back in the day used to be in Australia, and it's kind of so diversity, like so many different races and so many different culture. So it had pros and cons in my opinion. Like in Australia, living in such a diversity, and it's kind of privilege to me, that kind of people. But in Korea, we unnecessarily differentiate with the non-Korean. So one of my non-Korean friends, I said, she can separate the Korean 3 different types. One is like pure Korean, 100% pure Korean, like only speak Korean and always get along with the Korean and kind of differentiate with the foreigner. And second is like me probably, or Jongbin, like speak English and kind of open-minded, experience a lot of things in abroad, and like make a non-Korean friends as you. And third one is maybe sounds a bit strange, but like Koreans are too much show off how much educated they are. Like I have this certification, I graduate this school, so I'm a highly educated people. So that's her opinion. Yeah, do you agree about that?
There's. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to pigeonhole, or classify how in these kind of sections, but I would say you meet very very different kind of people, and people who are more open. People. I get that you're the product of your environment, and you're gonna behave accordingly. So if you are surrounding yourself in one group, and that one group also is very homogeneous, it's very natural for you to have certain thoughts about other people, or other people that might not look like you, other people who might not think like you, and that will show in your behavior. So I definitely know that there's some people who have certain contempt for someone like me, I mean, or every people holds biases, unconscious biases, I think probably, like something that I'm also, constantly have to work with, is certain biases that might be I'm not spotting, there might be even conscious biases people are, they're holding. But Korean, I mean, I don't want to put like label, but I would say it's, at times you meet people who are willing to interact with you, and sometimes the interactions might not seem the most natural, because, again, as I said, if these people coming from specific groups, and they haven't learned, or they don't have the experience to be maybe around more other people, from other cultures, other races, it becomes, they don't know, they don't understand, they don't see themselves, how it seems for maybe some for me, you know. But I have met mainly, you know, people who are, I find Korea in some ways, I think it's very accommodating. You know? It does accommodate us, you know. I don't know. I think it's the way I got here, but through academics, and I think maybe I'm viewed. There's a certain the way I'm viewed in terms of government, you know, a bit different than maybe other people who want to get in, but they can't, or refugees or something. I'm not sure, but it's as a Caucasian man, you know.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain
different way from looking.
I think there's a I think when people look at me, they hold certain perspective about me, you know, whether it's true or not, you know, I'm not sure, but they definitely hold certain vibes, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be, you know, I don't know, maybe certainly they might be more. I don't know. It's very hard.
Discriminate?
I don't know. I think it's just it's something. It's ideas. You know, it's very hard to battle ideas. You know? And it's hard to battle if someone has a certain perspective on your skin color. You know?
Yeah.
I think it becomes for definitely some people much more harder to live. You know. I find it in Seoul. It's more like a metropolitan city.
Yeah.
So it's much more easier to find people.
Foreigner.
No, and just general people, you know, who are great, you know, to interact with. When I was living in Tehran, it was great that I had other, you know, people from all over other places, you know, like in one language institute, and we were studying Korean. But when you go outside, you know, the city and so on, it's you're standing out and people are noticing. Sometimes good, sometimes it's not that great, you know. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, I know.
But
so, like
I would say it's better in Seoul, in bigger city.
Like I as a bilingual, I can speak in Korean. Like when I just being surrounded by my Korean friends, and when I just being surrounded by non-Korean friends, I feel like my identity is kind of changed. Like when if you see me my Korean friends, maybe you can't see me like this way. Like I can only speak Korean, and like I have to treat them like a different way. Like from treating you like, so you like Latvia is like a homogeneous country, like a white people.
Yes.
So like, if you see me like when you live in Latvia, and like when you just be around by Latvian your friends, and just being here and just like Korean friends or a lot of non-Latvian friends, you feel like you're a bit different from yourself?
I think well, it's a very interesting question about this, but I would answer in general. I would say that I treat people as individuals, and I try to be myself with everyone who I'm interacting with. But I would say also when you speak in certain languages, there might be like words have different feelings, different gravity in let's say in your native language, in mine, we might feel words differently than we do in third languages, fourth languages, and the connection you have with certain words that some people might use freely, and for us it might, let's say a native person, someone who's not native speaks certain words, we might feel differently than them because they're just learning it, even like curse words, like it's a different, like relationship, we might have.
So like for example, like if I complete fluent in Latvian, and if I go Latvia, maybe you treat me like your Latvian friends, or just like
I would treat you just as a friend, yes.
Okay.
I'm this way.
Because
I think it's very interesting because when I met Koreans also in Latvian, they told me I'm their non-Korean friend or foreign friend. I felt very interesting about how they labeled me. I was like, why am I not a friend? Because they thought about it and said, oh, my real friends are my Korean friends, but
Yeah.
you're just my foreign friend. So I think there's a very distinction.
Yeah, I try to not to, but really, but
Yeah.
but I don't know. Living in this society that makes me like because my Korean friends always ask me, "Oh, Sangwoo, how can you make so many foreign friends?" So I don't want to differentiate the non-Korean and Korean friends, but my just people try to me like think that way. So yeah, I try to not make differentiate honestly. So I think you're very open-minded about what race, what we call what nationality, but like your maybe Latvian friends or like Latvian community, do they think like same way as Korean think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know because it's we never really had this kind of conversations.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would be it would be very interesting to ask them as well. But I think there are. Well, in Latvia, among my friends, there's not many friends who are being called Michael. Real name Michael, like myself. So they already, when people have grown up with me, my Latvian sounds a little bit more. It's a bit different from other Latvian, So they already have associated with me as someone who thinks, a bit differently, So and in my network, I think they're open people, They are more open people. So we are. I'm not. I'm not definitely would think that they're willing to see beyond the nationality, the race, issue. I think also when your friends are saying how can you get a foreign friend, it's already like I think it's a grown.
Yeah, I think so.
If you can already think about how to get a foreign friend, you're already acting not yourself.
Yeah, I have to certain type of.
If you're not gonna act like yourself, other people like me, as someone who's not Korean, I will feel it that you're not acting like yourself. That you want to just get me as your foreign. I can sense it. We are smart. It's not like we can understand what's going on, And I think maybe then as well, these foreign people also will think, oh, that's just my Korean friend, not a friend. We are also gonna put you in the same position. It's like, oh, okay, you want my English? Maybe I want your Korean. That's it. That's gonna be the exchange. It's not bad then, if that's the like just exchange, connection, relationship, whatever you want to say. But again, this will not, in my mind, in my book, it will not be. And maybe I consider friends as a very strong term, So, but it's not gonna be a friend. It's, let's say if I'm going away somewhere, whether I'm gonna keep up connection with these people that were just for my Korean or something. But I don't have these kind of connections. That's why maybe my Korean is not that great, But I would say if you want a friend, I mean, it's just hard to just be find friends in general, like good people. I would say you have to just invest a lot of time, and they would have to invest a lot of time. It's agreement, Two people have to be in this. So I would say it's just getting friends, true friends. I think never. Just need to try,
Regardless of where you're from.
Regardless, I mean, even I would not say even the same, from the same country. I don't think it's not everybody just because they speak the same language, look alike, can be your friend. I cannot be friends with all the Latvian people, all the Russian people.
Yeah. Thank you for conversation with me.
Yeah. Conversation with Sangho.
Yeah.
This has been conversation with Sangho.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.